to be able to set up grade passback more automatically. So it is something that we have to work with individual institutions on to enable. So if you know that your institution is still on LTI 1.1 and you'd like to take advantage of some of those options, we need to set that up with them, and we'd be happy to talk with you or your LMS administrators to make that happen.
And just so you're clear, LTI stands for Learning Tool Interoperability. It's just the way that Yellowdig or pretty much any other third-party tool communicates with your learning management system.
Along with some of that new functionality with LTI 1.3, we do have functions to send group setups from the learning management system to Yellowdig for Canvas. So if you would like to be able to use your Canvas groups in Yellowdig, we do have functions for doing that now. And we've also made some recent updates to different display and warnings throughout the platform to really make it easier for students to understand what's going on, and if they run into any errors, how they can address that more quickly. So those are a few things that we've updated. We'll also be showing you a few things within the platform as we go.
All right. So that leads us to where we kind of want to be, to talk about getting started this fall. And, we just want to, when you're thinking about Yellowdig, if you're, new to Yellowdig, if you've only used it once or twice, just want to remind you that Yellowdig is a single semester long assignment or term long assignment. It's just one assignment, one grade. We often think of it as sort of a participation grade, equivalent to a participation grade, rather than an assessment of student, what they're talking about in there. And because it is a single assignment, it needs to be only one single assignment link in your learning management system. And usually that means that you create an assignment in your learning management system, and you link through whatever third-party tool integration that your learning management system offers to Yellowdig and to the gradebook to enable that grade passback. Brian?
Yeah, another thing we wanted to just remind everybody of is that it's honestly usually better and faster for everyone if students reach out directly to support@yellowdig.com, or any faculty that may be having issues at your institution. Reach out directly to us. We have a support team that is available many hours of the day, including some hours that are outside of our listed support hours. So oftentimes you'll get a faster response. And also, if there is a problem, it is most often related to specific tech or settings on the user side. So a lot of cookie settings or ad blockers or browser issues will often be what creates student access issues. And those really need to be handled kind of one by one. And we know what to look for and can find them a lot faster than you would be able to. So I would encourage your students to reach out to us, maybe with you on copy if you want to be aware of any issues they might be having, but it's definitely preferable for everyone, I think, if they reach out to support should they have any issues.
Yeah, and again, if you're using a learning management system, which we would probably encourage you to do to make it easy for you and your students to access Yellowdig and get in, you don't want to invite students other ways. You may have noticed in Yellowdig in the past, and it's still there, there's an invite members link in the members area of the Yellowdig sidebar, and that allows you to invite people to the community via email. There's also a way to invite people through a share link. However, those are not generally intended for use with students in an LMS situation. So don't use more than one way to get students in, I guess, is the best way to put that.
Yeah, and if you're using the LMS and you need to invite them, I would definitely use their institutional email with an email invite if you really feel like you need to, not the share link, because the share link allows students to choose whichever email they would like to use to set up their account. And that frequently leads to duplicate email accounts or duplicate Yellowdig accounts. Really, at the end of the day, for a student, in order to be able to use their grade passback, they need to get in through the learning management system one way or another. So really, it's probably best to just work with getting that, for us to work with them and trying to get that working, rather than invite them in.
Okay, and then let's get into the platform. Talk about getting going. What do we do to get started? And Brian's going to switch gears here. So you're going to create your community, probably through your learning management system. And hopefully the folks at your institution will make that easy for you by creating a root level integration that allows you just to choose Yellowdig. And then you'll launch your course from that assignment link that you've created. And then a new Yellowdig community will spawn. And the first thing you'll see, Brian, is go ahead and do the getting started. Oh, you want to do it from a freshie?
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. Sorry. I guess it makes sense for me to go back and deal with it
Okay.
from sorry.
That's okay. I was just going to say go down and getting started. This exciting little widget will pop up and it'll guide you through the process. And the first thing you'll hit continue or click it, I suppose. And the first thing you need to do is set up the earning period. When does your community start and when does it end? And all we really mean by that is when does point earning start and end? It's possible to be in the community beforehand or afterwards, but you need to configure the first and last day when you're entering the community. And that first and last day both do interestingly different things in the setup. The last day, the day of the week of the last day to earn points, will choose for you the rollover day, the day that the Yellowdig point limiter is in place. And the first day will determine how long the first earning period will be. With the exception of the first earning period, all earning periods are 7 days long as it stands right now. However, there is flexibility in creating a longer first earning period, like I said, up to 13 days. And this can be useful to accommodate sort of students who join the course late, or to give students sort of a gentler, easier lift that first week of being in the community if they're new to Yellowdig. Brian, why don't you show us how that works, since you're driving the car here?
Okay.
I would do it right there in the getting started, this setting up the start and end.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted me to show you the earning period.
Well, yeah, okay. This is our first kickoff session of the season, and it's Monday, so we'll get there. But basically, so as an instructor, you need to figure out when do you want students to earn points until. That's the first thing you want to consider. Oh, are you having a little trouble with your refreshing?
What's with that? Yeah, all right, here we go.
There we go.
Sorry.
So you choose the last day, and in this case, Brian has chosen a Saturday at 8:59 p.m., which we can also adjust. And that now it's a Sunday. And you'll notice that what is the start date there? Oh, this is I know this is a free form community, Brian.
Okay. It sure is.
Yeah. If you just go to the American government community, we can show it. by the way, he's showing you how you can easily switch between communities you own just by clicking that over there. Thank you. That was planned, everybody. Yeah. So you'll notice after you put the dates in, underneath it, it says this setup will create 60 earning, well, however many, 60. This is because it's a demo. You probably won't have more than 15 earning periods in your community. And it shows you that the first one will be 1 week and 6 days long. That's because it's a Monday for the start date and a Saturday for the end date. And to visualize that, you click on view periods and you can make sure that they are as you want them to be. And you'll see that first one is longer, but all the rest are exactly a week. The very last one reflects the top of the hour rather than the bottom of the hour, and gives students 1 extra second to get those final points in. So that's where you're going to want to start, and make sure that you click enable participation points, and that will give you our default point setup. Click continue. And what do we have here, Deborah?
We have here, we have where you can create your topics, course relevant topics, right? So this is how we keep the students on track as far as conversing about the topics that are pertinent to your content of your course. There's a couple of new features in topics. You can edit them with clicking on that button there. You'll see that you can check the points earning disable. Therefore, they can still use that topic, but they will not get points on that. And when you do that, you'll see that the topic now has a dotted circle around that topic, and good to inform your students of that as well, so they know what that means. You can also rearrange your topics by, moving the top 6, the first 6 that the students see when they're going to create a post and a topic is required, and you can organize those as well. So a couple new features with topics. Topics are so important because it is a way to make everything or your discussion in Yellowdig course relevant. So really you look at, your goals for the week, you look at your topics, and those topics can be used throughout the course to, as we talked about before, construct that knowledge.
Yeah, and I just want to add that no point topics are relatively new, and they're very useful in allowing students to have conversations that may not be related to the course, but they won't get points for them. On the other hand, sometimes you can take a point-bearing topic and convert it to a no-point topic, or perhaps disable that topic to remove focus from that topic. For example, the introduction topic is a wonderful topic to get students starting in the community, because all they got to do is say something about something they know themselves, right? I'm old and short and bald and stuff, right? And I've got some points. I know how to use Yellowdig now, right? But after the first week, or after that first earning period, 13 days or what have you, I don't want students to earn points for continuing to engage on that topic. I want them to start talking about other things in the course. So I can either turn point earning off, meaning they'll still keep all the points they had, but they won't earn any points in that topic going forward. Or I could simply disable the topic, meaning it will be no longer available for them. So
just to clarify quickly on that, Bob, point earning disabled will allow somebody to create a new conversation, create a post, still using that topic. They just won't be able to earn points for it. If you disable a topic, what that does is it removes the topic from being able to be selected in the topic selector. So students wouldn't be able to create a new conversation with that topic. And if they continue an old conversation, they won't earn any points.
But everyone will be able to find it, and you'll have the data on who's using what topics, which is very important. All right, so let's go to the next continue, please. And then these 3 very short videos are going to allow you to sort of remind yourself of Yellowdig pedagogy and what we're trying to do here. And we encourage you to watch those. They're very short. And then finally, that final, and our instructor and designer certification We encourage you to do that. And then finally, the last button, continue, is going to show a video that your students will see. This is what they get without the text around it when they enter the Yellowdig community for the first time. It's I believe it's slightly less than 2-minute video, and it talks a little bit about Yellowdig, generally speaking, and then it talks about how students earn points and where they should go to find information on those points. So worth your time to check out if you'd like, but also you can rest assured that your students will have this in front of them to help guide them and sort of set expectations, which, by the way, is our next point that we want to talk about. And that's setting expectations.
Yeah, really quickly, there is a helpful script for that right here in this last step. There's also a couple of other interesting and useful resources for communicating Yellowdig to your students. So you might want to take a look at those and add those into your syllabus as well.
All right. And so we're talking about setting expectations in that script that you mentioned, Brian. You know, it's really important that students understand that they're not doing the same old here, that this is not a discussion board. It's actually a learning community, and it's very different. They're coming in here likely, if they haven't been in Yellowdig before, to some ambiguity, and they, you know, are more likely to expect that things are going to be exactly as they always have, and that you're going to give them weekly prompts and all that kind of stuff if that's what you're doing. And of course, that's not the Yellowdig experience. And you know, in many ways, that's what makes Yellowdig so much more interesting and for them and engaging and for you. And so when you're telling your students at the outset of the community about Yellowdig, there are 3 things that you need to convey. The first is the purpose of the Yellowdig community. Why are we doing this? This is new to them. It's not a discussion board. The second thing you need to convey is your role. You know, if they think that you're not going to be involved in the community, if they think that this is just busy work that is unmonitored, they're not going to be that excited about being involved in the community. So you need to tell them that you're going to be in there and describe your role. And third, setting expectations for them, telling them explicitly what it is that you're looking for from them in the community. If you do all of that, it's going to really start doing the modeling of behavior that is so important in a Yellowdig community. And you're also going to, you know, make them feel a little more comfortable in the community. And, you know, just to really do it really quickly, Brian, can you show the video recording button? You pick a topic, and in this case, you probably want to pick introduction. By the way, for instructors, we encourage you to use a no point topic so the students are less incentivized to respond on your particular post and more incentivized to create their own posts and comments following that. So there's that little record button, the second button over from the left, and video is a choice there, and you can easily record a 90-second video in here. Brian, you want to do it since you're on the screen?
You're so much better at this than me, Bob, but yeah. You just start out saying something like, you know, hi, welcome to Yellowdig. This is a community built for this course. You know, your role here will be to make this community as good as you can, learning and helping with and from other students in the class. And I will be here as well. My plan is to you know, have conversations with you, hand out accolades periodically for content that I think is exceptional and that I want to call your attention to. You know, the expectation for this community is that everyone will, you know, act professionally and be helpful to one another. My goal, like yours, should be to come in, pay attention to the content that's being posted, take part in conversations, and to you know, help each other learn as much as we can.
Maybe even have a little fun.
And maybe even have a little fun.
Yes. Yeah. and so if you do that, students are going to say, oh, that's what we're doing here. This is not a discussion board, and it'll get rid of a lot of ambiguity as far as that goes. So once you've done that, you know, the other thing that we want to just give a refresher on a little bit is the motivational piece of Yellowdig, the gameful learning system that motivates students to come into the community regularly and to create better conversations, and making sure that you have a good understanding of this so that you can convey it to your students if necessary, but also make sure that you realize what's going on in the Yellowdig community and how it's happening. So as we already mentioned, Yellowdig is a single assignment over the course of the entire semester. There are weekly, there's a limiter on points so that students can't just go in and earn all their points on one day. But let's talk about how the point system motivates students to create regular interaction in the community and also to create better conversations. Deborah, can you talk about those first two?
Yeah, sure. Right. Yeah. So looking at that, we see students get points for creating a new post, minimum 40 words. There's the points, 280. Now, if you look at commenting on another's user post with a minimum of 20, so per word, they actually get more points. You see 210 there. But what is different in Yellowdig are the social points. Let's check that out.
What are the social points? Which are those, Deborah?
They are the last two there. Yeah,
Okay.
right there. Okay, receiving a comment from another user, 70 points. Receiving a reaction, another user. So what's this doing? It's conditioning the students to A, get in early, so others will read what they've posted and maybe therefore comment or react. And B, post quality content. Maybe they're getting in early, but no one's commenting, no one's reacting. So they're thinking, what's up? Well, when they actually look at what they're saying, are they bringing, more content into the course? Are they expanding the topic that's being discussed? Is their post really something that others want to react to and comment on? So it's really conditioning the students with the gainful point learning to do what really creates that community feel with the social point aspect in Yellowdig.
Yeah, and Deborah, you mentioned that commenting is worth more per word than posting. And why is that so important, Brian?
Yeah, it's important because what we found in our research with our partners and in general with a failing of sort of discussion, the standard discussion framework is there's not really very much back and forth conversation created in a lot of those situations unless you encourage students to think of the comments as being every bit as important as the posts. And so the reason that we value commenting so highly in Yellowdig and that the social points are sort of encouraging additional commenting and people trying to share posts that actually get interactions from other students is because it's those interactions that actually drive students to consume more information, to come back more often, to actually think about what's being posted and talk about it, and for those conversations to become much deeper and longer, and to actually have reciprocity and sort of the back and forth nature of a real conversation.
And speaking of those deeper conversations, that's sort of where those reactions come in. You'll notice that receiving a reaction from another user awards points to the person who's received the reaction. So if I were to give Deborah a thumbs up, she would get some points. And what does that tell you about me? It tells you that I read Deborah's post and comment. Even if I didn't have anything else to say, I read it. I'm going deeper in these conversations than people are in a discussion board. All right. So again, these points motivate students to come in. The topics shape those course relevant conversations. And, we talked about a little bit about the instructor presence as far as setting expectations. Another way that you can have an instructor presence is through accolades. Deborah, what are accolades?
Oh gosh, accolades are those, what do I say, badges, I guess we could compare it to, that students could earn or get because of what we're seeing there. Helpful post, interesting, spark thoughtful debate, start argument for your position. You can create your own accolades that go with your course content if you like. And then you can then use those accolades to filter content. So let's say you decided to use verified response accolades. Students are having that conversation. As we know as instructors, sometimes when you are in that conversation, they all look to you to carry it on. But by using an accolade, even in an online course or hybrid or face-to-face, you're kind of giving them that encouragement. That is a verified response. Way to go. Keep discussing. And then you can filter the information in Yellowdig by the filter system, which we're going to see up there on the right. And you can filter by accolades such as verified response. And then it's going to give the student all of those conversations that got a verified response. And to me, that'd be a great way to use that information as a study guide. So you'll also see the widget that informs the students and the instructor who's received accolades, for what reason. And again, accolades is something you don't want to overuse. I'd say a handful a week, depending on the number of students in your course. But yet it really is a way to be present as a guide on the side rather than the sage on the stage. And, students catch on pretty quickly, like, oh, this student posted this information, they're getting, great contribution to the course, and they do get points for that too. So again, we're working on creating and encouraging the behavior we'd like to see in Yellowdig.
So remember those accolades, two things. First of all, they're a way for you to be present in the community with a very low load on yourself. You can simply let students know you're there through the use of an accolade. And again, you want to be, don't want to get to the point where students are expecting the accolades. You want them to understand that they're pointing out outstanding posts and comments. Don't forget, you can use them on comments, and we would encourage that as well.
Right, for sure.
And just to be clear, there are some sort of pre-configured accolades in our default community that will populate into a new community. These also copy, if you copy, settings from a previous course or something like that. So please feel free to, make new ones, change them. Deborah mentioned a verified response accolade. We see a lot of people that are using Yellowdig to answer student questions, use that accolade to, acknowledge a correct answer to a student question or whatever. So we like to mention that one as one of our favorites, but really the sky's the limit here. We see people really making interesting use of them. And the only thing that I would say is we do see a big difference between communities that don't use accolades at all and communities that use at least, say a handful of accolades a week or just a few accolades a week. It's a really quick, easy way for the instructor to guide students and show them what content they want to see more of. And then the students kind of go, oh, if I do a good job of sharing something, it makes my job a little bit easier. I get more points when the instructor, recognizes.
Right, so Brian is going to show reminders really quickly. While after he's done with that, we're going to talk more about what to do after your community starts. But don't forget that we are more than happy to take your questions. If you want to post them in the Q&A, please do that. We're here for you. Brian, reminders, what are they for?
So the reminders in a community will basically just shoot off an email every time students are not participating for a certain amount of time, and it's fully configurable. You can change the amount of time before students actually get those emails, and the number of times it will repeat so that it doesn't get annoying or anything like that, right? So essentially, if a user has not been in the community for a certain number of days, you can send them an email reminder. The email reminder basically looks like this. It says, hey, you haven't been to this community in a while. We miss you. And then here's, an interesting post that you haven't seen that you might want to see. And we basically serve them the most popular post that they haven't seen that's in your community. So you can configure how often these go out for your community, but we do recommend leaving them on, and we have it set so that they get one after 5 days, and then they'll get one once a week after that for 4 more times.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Can you go back to the community? Well, you don't even have to go back to the community. I want to point out to everybody at the bottom left of your screen, there's a little avatar for yourself all the way down. And by default, it's just going to have a little weird looking picture and your Yellowdig username, whatever that is. But as part of modeling the behavior as you get started, you can make this much more personal and again show students that this is important to you simply by adding your picture and also making sure that your first name and last name are displayed in some manner. Notice that in this case, you can put Dr. Paul in the first name and your last name separately. If you want to use an honorific or a title for yourself, I encourage you that you place that in the first name, and that will make it display like that. And then your students will hopefully do the same thing. You want to show where the picture goes? I think it's really important to do this, by the way.
Yeah.
Very simple. You click on that little circle, it'll say upload user image, and that's what you do. Nothing too scary there. I encourage you to do that. And Brian, you want to show those other icons above that too, and what they do? On the left, all the way to the left above the avatar.
Oh, these ones you're saying?
Yeah, sorry about
yeah, so the other icons above the avatar there allow you to switch organizations if you happen to be in more than one organization. There's also an announcements feature here. So this will show you our newest features that are coming out as they come out in Yellowdig. So that Accolade widget is one of our newer ones. But we generally add releases here as we want to announce specific functionality that's being edited or added. And it's a great way to keep up with that. And you can also click on this banner at the top, and there's a separate web page, so you could also bookmark that if you like to learn more about Yellowdig.
And then the one above that is the one that you probably will you and your students will take advantage of the most. That is, again, the knowledge base. You can go to help.yellowdig.co, or you can just go right here to that little question mark and have access to the full knowledge base. And when we were talking about students and when they need support for some sort of technical issues that they encounter, they can write support@yellowdig.com, or perhaps an easier way to contact us is simply by scrolling down on that the help widget, and it says contact us by email, and that will also submit a ticket for them. Very simple. Awesome. All right. So you're going and you've noticed that you're getting a lot of notifications for all the various activities that a student is that students are doing in your community. How can you mitigate those? How can you fine tune the notifications you get? Oddly enough, you go to notifications and you can choose whether you're getting them in the app or via email and for which categories. And your students can do this as well.
Yeah, so if you want to edit the notifications for a single community, you can go to the notifications area inside of the settings of that community. So this is showing the notifications for this specific community, or I can go to the global notification settings from there. You can also access your global notification settings from that avatar image that we showed earlier. But basically, the concept is that you can make exceptions for any communities you're in. So if you're in a really large community, maybe you don't want to be notified of every single post, and you probably won't if it's a big community. If you're teaching a course, though, that only has 10 students, maybe you do want to be notified every time somebody posts. So you have the ability to change your global settings and individual settings.
We have a brief amount of time left, and I think it's important that we sort of talk about the modeling behavior that the instructor should play in the community itself. What can you do that are low impact on you or low lift types of things that you can do in the community that really enhance student interaction and give them a good feel for what you're looking for in the community. Brian, a lot of people, and Deborah, a lot of people think that posting is what I should be doing, right? And is that the case?
No, not really. So in general, what we find in our data is that the amount that an instructor posts is not related at all to how much students participate or how much they go over and above their sort of grade requirement.
And just to be clear, when I'm saying posting, I mean starting a conversation in Yellowdig, as opposed to commenting, which is contributing to a conversation. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, so posting would be, hitting the create button and starting a new conversation with post. Commenting, on the other hand, is highly correlated with how much students participate in the community and how much they come back and how much they participate above and beyond the point requirement. So in general, I strongly suggest that instructors spend more of their time commenting on conversations that students have started. You're sort of, joining into something they find interesting, they have questions about, and filling in and coloring in, some details or using your expertise. And I think it also helps show students that you're sort of, an interested expert, right? You're there, you want to actually, take part in a conversation with them, and it's a good way to make a connection with them, which definitely improves out.
And
Right.
I think it's important to say that you should not feel obligated to comment on every student conversation. You definitely shouldn't feel obligated to do that. In fact, if you see a great student conversation that's going gangbusters, lots of comments, lots of replies, lots of cool interaction, maybe that's a good opportunity to use an accolade instead to point out maybe one of those comments that's really outstanding or something like that, to draw attention to it, without sort of turning attention towards you. On the other hand, there are conversations that your addition to it can really boost the conversation, can add a new perspective to it. And by the way, what's going to happen to the post relative to the rest of the feed if you comment on it, Deborah?
It's going to go to the top. Yeah.
Go to the top, and everyone will see it and they'll know it's important. It's another way for you to model. And by the way, while we say posting isn't probably the best use of your time, as the community is starting, it doesn't hurt for you to post an introductory post to share a little bit about your background and your passion for the subject matter, and maybe even in another occasional post or two where you share something, an article that's relevant to a particular concept or something like that, rather than giving a question. Just model that this is, hey, I thought this was really interesting, wanted to share it, and that'll get other students to do this, a similar type of activity as far as that goes.
Yeah, I mean, just to build on that, Bob, just a tiny little bit, I think the best use of posting for an instructor is to show students exactly what you want them to do, right? You wouldn't, as an instructor, want a student to kind of demand that every student answer their question, but you would want them to share an interesting news article that they saw, or if they happen to be reading a journal and they read something that was really relevant to your course, you would want them to share it. You should absolutely do those things and show students that that's how you want them to participate, and you'll see that they respond to that for sure.
And
Yeah.
we have a few minutes left, and I want to talk about some of the data that you can use to help inform your teaching and make adjustments. And in the first place I want to start is with topics because of time. So we talked about how you have control over topics. You can change the focus of topics simply by reordering them or by disabling them or creating no point topics or something like that. But all this data on topics is collected, and it allows you some insights into the topics themselves and the student participation. So you can see the percentage of posts made on any particular topic. If you see a particular topic is getting just the lion's share of posting, that probably means that that topic is too non-specific to shape conversations. So you may consider going and disabling that topic and creating maybe 2 or 3 subtopics that would better help shape those conversations without deleting the previous topic. But that'll help students find where they're going. Also, you'll notice if you scroll down that you can see how individual students are behaving on topics. If you're able to scroll down, Brian.
I scrolled down, Bob. You're not seeing that?
Deborah, are you? Anyway.
Yes.
There we go. Now I see it. Now you'll be able to see how each individual student is engaged in those topics. Brian, any other, what else about the data would you want to point out in the minute and a half we have left?
Yeah, we don't have a ton of time, but I would say you want to pay attention to your conversation ratio. Ideally, a conversation would have a number of back and forths where students are talking, more people are jumping in, right? And so on average, you hope that your conversation ratio is higher than a sort of standard discussion, which would be sort of usually 2 posts or 2 comments per post. What we hope to see in Yellowdig is something closer to 8 on average. And that's kind of a high goal, I think, in a lot of cases, but you definitely want students, on average, to be looking at these posts that are being created and actually then talking about them. And one other place I just want to highlight quick, and I don't want to talk too much about it, but there is a health check area here, and there are community health scores that we calculate for you. I would recommend looking at those, for any communities that you're running, and they give you a good idea of how your community is doing sort of relative to other Yellowdig communities. This is, of course, a demo, so there's not very much action in it. These scores vary between 0 and 100. 100 is better. This community is pretty low and lame in general, but yours will hopefully be significantly better. But check that out. It's really useful.
Yep, and the listening score and the interacting scores are the ones we encourage you to focus on. So we're out of time. We want to thank you so much for joining us today. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out or join us in our office hours tomorrow. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks again.
Bye, everyone.
If anyone has any quick questions, you can hang out.